Hey guys, welcome back. I just finished training, so I have a bit of time now before I take Machi to his physio. Thought I'd sit down and have a chat to you guys about things that you want to consider when you start fighting, or as a fighter when I first started. I was a bit confused and overwhelmed about all the stuff that I need to get done, and I wasn't really sure I had a reference besides my coach and some other friends about what to expect and what to do in preparation to get in the ring for the first time. So we're going to sit down and have a chat about that today. I've got some reps that I need to roll up, so we will do that as well, just so I can keep my hands busy instead of like being awkward. I'll just sit down and we'll get started. And Machi's over here. Hey Machi! Just chilling. All right, let's get into the video. All right guys, so I brought my wraps just because I thought it was a little bit strange if I just sat here and like sat and stared at the camera and just talked. So anyway, to keep myself busy, I have some wraps to do. And in the meantime, let's have a chat about getting into the ring for the first time. Some people are super excited when they fight. Some people get super nervous and they feel like they're gonna die, which was me, and it's still kind of me. So we're gonna have a little chat about what to expect about the experience and the whole process about getting into the ring for the first time, whether it's interclub, amateur. Once you get to professional, I'm pretty sure, or I'm expecting fighters to know what they're doing, or have at least a sense of what to do in their preparation. So I'm gonna basically look at people kind of starting in their amateur careers. So let's have a chat about that. All right, so you've been training for a while and you're curious about fighting, or that conversation's kind of been brought up in your training classes with your coach. Generally, when someone is ready to fight or they have an interest in fighting, they have a conversation with their coach first. So please do not sign yourself up for a fight. That's kind of looked down upon pretty badly in the Muay Thai community or in the fight community. So if you're interested in fighting, have a chat to your coach. They'll be able to give you the resources, timeline, and also give you realistic expectations of where you should be at in terms of your level of skill or whether you're ready to fight. All right, that aside, let's say we have a date for the fights. Usually fight shows, whether they're interclubs or amateurs, they should have a calendar for their fights for the rest of the year or like upcoming months. So that should give you like a good time frame in mind of preparing for a fight. Generally, when I kind of get into a fight camp, I give myself 4 to 6 weeks. Leading up to 4 to 6 weeks, you shouldn't be super unfit or like completely out of shape as well. If you are, let's say you just came back from like a long break or injury or holiday, you might want to give yourself a longer period of time to get back into your at least like a good level of fitness before you go into fight camp. So you're not too worried about doing too many things at once, like losing weight, trying to be super fit, trying to be strong, like build up your strength again, trying to make weight, and then fight at the same time. So you should be walking around a comfortable weight that you can cut weight at. You should be generally fit and nothing, like no major injuries to worry about before you start your fight camp. And then also in a good space where you don't feel like you're super stressed with work or family stuff, that you can dedicate a couple of weeks to focusing on getting ready for your fight. All right, so let's talk about training. First things first. So when I first started interclub level, I was only training Muay Thai, let's say 4 to 5 times a week. I started training Muay Thai twice a week, and that was like totally enough for me. And then as I progressed in Muay Thai, and my coach kind of brought up that you should try some interclubs, which is kind of like 2 gyms you get set up around like your walking weight, and then you agree on fighting the other person about the same experience level. You just get experience being in the ring. The rounds are really short. They should be semi-contact as well in interclubs, so you don't have that risk of getting very injured. So interclub preparation, I just did all my regular classes and training, some additional runs during the week. I didn't run like crazy amounts either. It's only like 3 5K runs a week. And from there, just did all my extra bag work, like your teeps and your knees, make sure that I was fit, got some sparring rounds in, and basically, yeah, that was it. So you don't need to be cutting too much weight for those kind of fights. You should be generally going in at your walk weight. So in terms of nutrition, it's just keeping yourself healthy, you're not falling sick from all the training, and you're feeling good and energy levels are high. So basically, in terms of getting ready in that sense, you've got a good solid training routine that you should have had anyway coming into your fight camp. Just keep that up if you're coming in for your interclub. Even for amateurs as well, there isn't too much of a big shift in terms of your consistency in training. I feel like personally, if you can keep it a routine that you're already comfortable with and just add in, let's say, a couple of runs or some strength sessions, that should be plenty as you go into your first fight. It can also feel like there's so much to cover in Muay Thai, and it still honestly feels the same for me. I never feel like I'm perfect. In fact, I feel like very far from perfect So it can feel a little bit overwhelming when you're still trying to learn new techniques in training, new skills, like new better defenses and all that, and at the same time feel like whether or not you're ready to fight. So I think that question comes up a lot, and it happens, I guess, mostly in training or when you're having conversations with your coach or after sparring, whether you had a hard session or not. So I feel in terms of managing all that during training, just having realistic expectations and clear goals when you're training. So let's say I'm training and I just train to feel like I need to know that I'm fit. So have a marker of how you're gonna measure your fitness, and I want to feel like I'm strong. Again, have a marker about feeling kind of like measuring where your strength is. I want to be able to clinch for, let's say, 10 minutes straight with like strong clinch technique and not die. I want to be able to spar well and not feel like I'm short of breath. So just having these realistic goals in your head rather than just overgeneralizing everything in training and just being like, oh my God, everything's just so crap. That will probably also help during training to manage the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is your mental and emotional well-being and managing stress levels going to a fight. So for me, again, I didn't really know this until I started fighting, but I guess I'm actually quite anxious as a person, and that really comes out when I have a date and an opponent set. So I think during interclub and amateurs, I didn't really get to fight amateurs, by the way, so I can't speak from experience, but I only got to fight interclubs. And without really having too much of a time between knowing who I was fighting, I just had the date in mind and I was preparing. Even though I was nervous, I don't think I was as nervous as when I started fighting in pros and actually knowing who the person was and putting a face and a name to the opponent. That kind of caused me even more anxiety. So I could feel like as I progressed in my fight camps, I don't know, you guys might be the same. There must be a lot of stress and like anxiety in training. And carrying that into the training session, I find, has been pretty detrimental for like my own emotional health and mental health as well. So I used to get really anxious and have like really bad eczema the moment I found out that I was fighting someone or I had a name in mind. So I think super important when you're thinking about preparing for your first fight is having ways of managing your stress levels and having constant check-ins with yourself as well, like checking in with how you're doing, how are you feeling? Are you feeling like you're overwhelmed? Are you feeling like you're overtraining? You're super tired, you can't concentrate at work, you can't concentrate at training, your body's feeling super fatigued and your mind's feeling super fatigued. I think having those checks and like conversations with yourself every day or during the week as you're training, and a lot of positive reinforcements as well for yourself, is super helpful to get you through your training camp and putting you into like a positive and strong state of mind for your fight. You don't want to get to your fight and get super burnt out as well, because I do see a lot of people training, they start out really well, the fight camp kind of wears them down, they get to the fight on fight day, they're so burnt out, they're emotionally stressed, like just overwhelmed in general, and they don't perform, and it kind of all just starts crumbling down. So training and like emotional health and like your happiness are in a really important balance as well, I found, as you progress, and to have longevity in the sport as well. So overall, in summary of all that, having ways to check in with yourself. If you're kind of getting like short-tempered, you don't really want to talk to anybody in the gym, and you feel super frustrated, just have a way to calm down, whether it's, go take a walk, have like breathing exercises, just starting early in your fight career and managing your stress levels and managing your own mental health is super important, because as you go through your fights, you're going to have your highs and you're going to have your lows, and if you can't manage all that, it will be a huge problem down the line. And it'd be harder to kind of pick yourself up from there. Yeah, I found that like I was super anxious as I was, and I still kind of am, but I was really anxious as a fighter in preparation for my fights, and it wouldn't put me in like the best mood or kind of have like the most productive training sessions either. But when I did have my lows in my fight career, I found it really hard to pick myself up, and I didn't have the tools to actually help myself manage all my negative thoughts and all these negative emotions. So I kind of wish that from the start, I was able to kind of be more disciplined with myself, and be more disciplined with my emotional health, mental health, and just managing all that and knowing where to draw the line as well. Let's say you finish training at 9 o'clock, you go back home, that's it. Whether you had a frustrating session or not, put that out the window. It's dinner time, it's time to hang out with Machi, it's time to like hang out with your loved ones. You should have that like balance as well. Yes, Muay Thai does consume a lot of your life, and you do need to be super dedicated to the sport to like have any kind of success, and because of the risk as well, you should be really dedicated to your training. But at the same time, I feel like the past few years, a lot of my close friends and also like mentors have helped me draw strict lines so that I knew kind of where to cut off from training, where to cut off from work, and just actually focusing on building other aspects of my life, so that it was a bit more of a balanced kind of thing happening rather than putting so much of like my self-worth into Muay Thai as well, which is my third point, which is what we're going to cover too. When you're starting out fighting, I feel like there's so many ifs and there's so many maybes, and for me it's like a lot of hopes, a lot of dreams, and a lot of like big goals. And of course you should have big goals and should have big dreams. I don't think I prepared for the downside as well, like the hardships of, let's say, getting injured or having bad fights, or, you know, fights not going the way that you want. And yeah, like that's pretty hard to deal with, I think. And if you don't have the right kind of support network or resources around you to help you get through, that can be a very challenging kind of hill to get over in your career. So yeah, so having life balance, I feel like, would be really helpful. If you have like dedicated time to hang out with your family, do your other hobbies as well, keep working yourself, like upskilling yourself in other aspects of your life, and not putting so much self-worth into just how you do in the ring and whether or not you're winning. Because I feel like that happens easily to fighters if you put a lot of self-worth into just the wins that you get in the ring, and everything else in life doesn't really measure up as much or is as important as how you perform in the ring. It can get tough later on, or like, you know, if you have a loss. Because some fighters don't lose and they have an undefeated, you know, record. But somewhere along the way, injuries do happen, setbacks, and if you have too much of your self-worth stuck into your performances every single time, it can be really hard to you kind of lose yourself, I feel like, if that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like my words are not really making that much sense at the moment, but I feel like along the way you can feel like you've lost a sense of self, and you've kind of lost a sense of who you are and who the person was when you first started Muay Thai. You know, you may have just started like innocently like me, like I kind of just fell into it. I kind of fell into fighting and it just started rolling from there. Like before I knew it, it was, oh, I'm in my professional fights. I never had intention to fight, and I just kind of wanted to improve myself and to, you know, put something that was difficult in front of me and try and beat the challenge. And somewhere along the way, you know, somewhere in the middle of my fight career, or like let's say like fights, maybe 10, or like from there, I had so much of my self-worth like put into Muay Thai that everything felt like it was crumbling down and I was worthless if I wasn't winning or if I wasn't performing. And that really isn't true. You know, you should have friends and family that love you no matter whether or not you win. And fight fans, I guess, they come and go. But, you know, there should be your circle of friends who you trust, and your coach and your team, and you guys are always working together. So managing your highs and, you know, how you perceive your success, and then managing your lows as well is a huge thing to help you navigate through your fight career. So I think it's a nice thing to think about when you're first starting out fighting. Just have that in the back of your mind, or just have that process and that conversation with yourself. To just check in, you know, am I putting too much self-worth in how I'm performing? Do I feel like my whole life will just start crumbling down if I lose my next fight? Will I go into depression and start abusing, I don't know, alcohol, drugs because I'm not doing well? Like, that's really negative side effects that shouldn't happen to a fighter, even if you're losing, even if you have like a losing streak, even if you retire, you know, I feel Muay Thai should have a positive impact in your life. I haven't enrolled any of these reps. Anyway, I'm just gonna have them here. So we've covered so far training routine. So you have about like maybe for the bigger fights, 4 to 6 weeks, anything from like interclub to amateur, you know, I think 2 to 3 weeks is a pretty reasonable time to get yourself ready, as long as you're fit. Get your training routine down, have your schedules, make sure when you're scheduling, you have your recovery, your rest, your external hobbies and different things that ease your mind as well. Maybe breathing, maybe meditation, maybe yoga, maybe walking, I don't know, rock climbing. It could be anything really, but it's just something to kind of balance out your life. We've talked about emotional well-being and your mental state as well. That kind of ties in really closely to the third point, which is self-worth. These are all kind of like really big ongoing conversations that people have, and also might kind of stop them from fighting because you have these fears. So I kind of hope that if you open this conversation with yourself, or let's say with me or with other people around you, it can kind of encourage you to give fighting a try, see what it's like and have an open mind to it. If you don't like it, then don't do it. Or if you want to keep challenging yourself and you find these things in your way or these blocks in your way, hopefully just having a conversation with someone that knows what they're doing or can help you get through will set you on the right track for your career. Yeah. So in terms of all that, you've got all your fighting done, you've got all your gear ready to go. Depending on what you're fighting in, you might need to get your blood test, your fitness done. And I feel like some states do like pregnancy tests and stuff like that as well, so depending where you are in the world. Once you've got all that done, you're there. So now we have 2 things left to do, actually three things left to do. You have your weigh-in day, your fight day, and then your post-fight. All right, so let's quickly go through those things just so you have a clear expectation on the day of what to expect when you come into your first fight, so your first couple of fights. So weigh-ins, sometimes you weigh in on the same day. So again, that goes through, hey Machi. Depending on what your natural walking weight is, you shouldn't be fighting too far away from that if you're doing same day weigh-ins. And again, like talk to a nutritionist, have those conversations, don't starve yourself. I feel like that was something that I did earlier on, like worrying about what I was eating and not eating enough just to make weight. And that really isn't healthy. You might lose your period for the girls, you might, have really negative negative side effects with that. So not starving yourself is one thing, and then just being able to manage your water levels, your stress levels, whether you're sleeping enough, that does play a role as well in your weight. Yeah, so have a conversation with a nutritionist. If you're in Melbourne and would like some recommendations, just DM me and I'll be able to send you guys some recommendations for nutritionists or like strength coaches. And once you're there, weigh-in day. So we've made weight, sometimes weigh-ins on the same day as the fight, sometimes weigh-in is the day before. So you have your post-weigh-in recovery. And again, you should be talking to your coaches about this, not killing yourself for the weigh-ins and feeling good for the fight. So basically you want to feel fit, you want to feel emotionally ready, mentally ready, and you want to feel good for the fight. You shouldn't be feeling like once you get there, I feel terrible, I feel weak, I don't have any strength left in me. That should not be the case. You should be feeling ready, excited, nervous, but generally trusting the process that you are ready to fight. Okay, once you get to, all right, so now we're at fight day. Fight day is probably the day that I am the worst in terms of how my emotional state is. I get super nervous, and again, with all my different fighter friends, everyone reacts differently. Some people are super chill. Some people are actually extremely tired from the stress. Some people are very excited, and then you have people like me, which get really quite nervous on the day. So over the years of fighting, I've found that I've been able to find different ways to kind of calm myself down, whether it's just, first half of the day, focus on, let's say, getting ready, whether you're getting your braids done, packing your bag. Like sometimes that kind of makes me feel at ease, that I've got everything ready, packed, ready to go. My checklist of things I need to bring, I go walk the dogs, take care of the dogs. And then once I get to the venue or on the way to the venue, that's when the nerves and all that start building up. Sometimes I call my mom just so that I can hear her voice, and she puts me at ease, or I talk to my partner and he makes me feel better as well. And yeah, so basically fight day kind of feels like the accumulation or that massive build-up has come to this day. That's what it feels like for me, and I feel like sometimes I'm like, oh, I can't believe we're here, and it's time to, I guess, step up to the challenge. And it can be daunting because you feel like, you're putting everything on the line, you have to face all your fears, you could get injured, you could die, that's how I feel sometimes. But again, generally it's a super exciting day because, all this hard work, you're finally here and you're able to show what you've been working on for the past 6 weeks or the past years and put on performance for people, and also, I don't know, make your team proud. Kind of makes me happy to feel like I've made my coach proud, I've made my team proud, I haven't let anyone down, and I'm able to showcase a little bit more each time when I fight my skills and what I've been working on. So yeah, so everyone manages fight day differently. So when you're there, just make sure you got your hydration, you got your all your fight gear ready to go, your music, if you listen to music, talk to your friends, I don't know, you'll be able to find ways to manage your own self on the day. My partner River gets really pumped up and he gets really excited. He likes to move around a lot, kind of do a full workout at the back, and I used to be the same when I was into club too. I used to like to run before that, so that's something that we've added into fight day, just going for a short quick run, just get the blood flowing, feeling like, oh my god, okay, my body still works. And yeah, so once you start fighting, just make sure you have a process and trust your process of how you like to get ready. Because sometimes people might tell you, oh, do this and do this and do this, and that might overwhelm you more than necessary. So just be kind of like, if you know yourself and this is how you like to do something, just go for it. Tell the coaches, tell your corner, they're there for you, that this is how you like to prepare. So I want to sit quietly and not talk to anyone for a bit. I want to be, you know, like light-hearted humor. I like that. Or I want to be, you know, like just shadow boxing. I want to be hitting pads. Just have an open conversation with someone. And the talking kind of helps as well to kind of keep you present in the moment. Otherwise, you might get stuck in your mind and just like float off to somewhere else. So fight day, fight happens, win, lose, draw. It is what it is. You know, I guess we accept and move on. And the next thing would be recovery. And I feel like I used to overlook that recovery period or kind of give myself the time to come down from the fight as well. Like with the highs and the wins, I never really had to think too much about it. But with the losses, it was particularly, I guess, challenging to kind of pick myself up again. And having a good process of recovery, you know, whether you're saying already kind of take time off your working schedule or if you want to go straight back to work, that's up to you. But let's say take time off training. It's good to kind of decompress, go and do other activities that are fun, feed yourself, you know, eat good food, hang out with your family, and just kind of, again, realign and rebalance your life before you go back into the full cycle of training and fighting and doing all that again. And I guess also it's a good time to kind of reflect on how far you've come and the kind of improvements you want to make for your next fight. So you have like, I guess, tactile goals to kind of move forward to, not just kind of, oh, that was so shit. Like that isn't really a productive kind of statement to tell yourself. Or sometimes I say that to myself and I was like, I don't know where I'm going to go with this. So, you know, rather than just saying, okay, I need to work on my knees, I need to work on, let's say, boxing defense. So you have clear goals when you step back into the gym so you know what you're working for the next fight, or just your general improvement in Muay Thai. Because now in the fight, you would have been exposed to your weaknesses, what you're really good at, some things that, you know, that don't come out in training and you just naturally go to in the fight. So maybe we always kick in the gym, but in the fight, you like to box and knee. So now these things are kind of like exposing themselves and your personality and your style in fighting is coming out through that pressure, which is a great thing. And so your weaknesses as well. So I feel like every time you fight, that comes out even more. So you can just take notes and keep improving on your strengths. And then again, of course, try and, you know, tidy up all your weaknesses as well. All right, guys, so that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed that video. It's kind of like just a conversation and a bit of, yeah, like a conversation about for people who are starting to fight. I get these questions quite often at the gym for people who are thinking about fighting, you know, or like they're curious about what it's like to fight. And I feel like you've already got the basics down. Training and your nutrition and your weight should be kind of just the basics, and everyone and their coaches should be able to help you through. In terms of the other stuff like your emotional, mental well-being, your self-worth, I feel that isn't a conversation that is out in the open very often. But I do feel it plays a huge role in a fighter's career, of course, and their success, and also whether it stops them from fighting and also post-fighting. You know, like you're not going to be fighting forever. And I find that that's the kind of stuff that I wish people had more conversations with me about, like just managing all of that and giving me tools, I guess. So along the way, you'll be able to find tools for yourself. You know, everyone's a bit different in managing all the negatives and aspects of fighting, I guess. Whether it's, you know, too much self-worth in fighting or like losing your identity or having no balance in your life. But starting early and having those conversations or just keeping that at the back of your mind when you start fighting so that you're always, you know, on track and you're keeping a good, healthy balance and everything else. I think it's super important. And then, yeah, have fun when you're fighting. You know, it's not all about just knocking everyone out and I don't know, like, you know, being a champion all the time. You know, people fight for many, many reasons. You know, you could fight to prove something to yourself. You could fight for, I don't know, like I feel like everyone has a different reason to fight, and that's cool. So I hope that kind of like gave you a good insight into just opening a conversation about fighting. If you have any questions or anything particular you want me to cover, just leave in the comments or you can DM me and maybe we can make a video about that. Like fighting is such a huge conversation and a huge topic. It's so hard to talk about it generally, but it is easier when people have specific questions or problems, you know, things that arise. You don't really know what problems you're going to have until you start fighting, I guess. You know, like for me, I thought it was all kind of cruisy until I had my own like emotional pitfalls and my stress and my anxiety issues. But yeah, like these things all happen to everyone, you know, and it's it's part of fighting, and it's part of Muay Thai, it's part of your growth. So I hope that you enjoy your first couple of fights wherever you are, and good luck with your fights and your training. And again, if you would like to chat to anyone or have a conversation with me about fighting, or I can help you put you in contact with the right resources as well if you're in Melbourne, just message me, or you can put in the comments. I'm happy to chat. All right, guys, Machi needs to go for his physio appointment. He still has his little little stitches here on his ear. We'll take them out today. But for now, we're gonna go take Machi's physio appointment, and then we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.